Good morning, Atlantis.
Good morning, Jan. Wow, what an inspirational piece of music to wake up to. Phantom of the Opera.
I'm sure.
Presented by the Clear Lake High School Symphony Orchestra, one of the finest high school orchestras in the state of Texas. Directed by Mr. James Kidwell.
Roger that, John, and I'm sure that you heard your daughter playing in that.
Yeah, you know, that's a very inspirational piece of music, and since you played that this morning, it will inspire me to say something significant to you if you have a couple of minutes to listen.
Sure, we have a couple of minutes.
Okay, I'm on the flight deck here with Biggs. He just floated up, and G. David. As you know, our crew patch is a very significant thing, Jan. It commemorates 30 years of manned spaceflight, from Mercury through the shuttle era. And why this is so important is it reminds me of all the fantastic scientific work and advances in technology that have occurred in that 30 years. And now that I've been on space a third time for 4 days now, and we're going into our 5th day, it just reminds me as I watch David and Bakes, Shannon and Jim do all the research that they're doing, how important spaceflight is, but yet how much more important and how much more we could learn if we could be here on a full-time basis. And of course, in the next decade, we plan to do that with our space station in partnership with the Japanese and the Europeans. And with all those scientific brains working together, who knows the wonders of scientific breakthroughs that will occur in that decade. By the way, Jan, just for the Earth Odyssey people, all of this photography was taken out of a PLT window. Of course, here's Cairo and Alexandria, now River Valley. And this is a little, you're still with me, this is a little camcorder showing some Earth ops with Jim.
Yeah, we still have
and Bakes. Okay, Jim and Bakes are in the overhead windows here going out this morning. That's a Hasselblad with a 250 telephoto lens Jim has. It's a 35 millimeter camera with a 300 millimeter lens that Bakes has. As you know, I think he's the first human that's ever used that type of lens in space, so it's going to be very interesting to see what he gets. Jan, I can't, again, tell real good, but I think this is northwest Australia. How does that look to you down there? Yeah, this is Australia. They're approaching it there. Now here's the northwest coast. Here's some beautiful sunland.
This view from Atlantis' payload bay shows the radiators on the payload bay doors. Those payload bay doors are opened shortly after orbit is achieved and to allow the exposure of the environmental control and life support system radiators for heat rejection of the orbiter system. When the orbiter is on orbit and the payload bay doors are open, the radiator panels on the underside of the doors are exposed to space, and that provides the heat rejection. This view of the SSB-UV, or the Shuttle Solar Backscatter Ultraviolet Instrument,
Right. Atlantis, this is WWR-TV in New York. I'm Roland Smith. Good afternoon to you. My first question is this. Colonel Braha, you have been a big proponent of a space station. What can it do that continued shuttle flights cannot do?
Okay, well, basically, it has more space and more power and more time in orbit to continue the medical research and materials research that is necessary to really take advantage of the microgravity environment.
Commander Baker, this is your first flight into space. What is different about it than you expected?
That's a little bit of a difficult question to answer. There's probably the biggest thing that hit me was the RCS jets, how powerful they are, how loud they are, how much they shake the spacecraft. Besides that, I think I was pretty well trained and briefed, and of course seeing the Earth from this altitude is very impressive, and I don't think you can be prepared for that at all.
I can imagine. Dr. Lucid, this is your third space flight, and prior to this mission, you logged some 290 hours in space. In your observation of the Earth and its environment, have you noticed any difference between your first space flight and this one?
Well, it's funny you should ask that question, because just this morning, John and I were looking out the window, and I was commenting to him that this time, so far, the Earth has looked very hazy. It looks like we're looking down through a haze, and I don't know if that's because of the recent volcanic eruptions or the fires or what. And John agreed with me that we just haven't been getting as clear views as we had on previous missions.
I'll toss this out to anyone there. You've been gathering data on the Earth's ozone layer during this mission. Is it too soon to calculate any change?
Well, it's at least too soon for us. We're gathering the data, and I'm sure the folks who are sponsoring the SSB-UV experiment, that's Space Shuttle Backscatter Ultraviolet, will be learning a lot from the data that we've collected up here. Just from a visual observation, though, I agree with Shannon and John. It looks quite hazy this time, and that could be just a seasonal or an atmospheric phenomenon that's associated with Mount Pinatubo's erupting or something like that. But the ultraviolet experiment is something that's going to help us calibrate a number of other satellites and experiments and data from previous years.
As you're just sitting there in the shuttle at this point, what does that feel like to be in space?
It's great great to be in space, and we're not sitting here actually. We're floating, which is it's like you're perpetually free falling, which is a great feeling.
Good afternoon, Atlantis. This is Jan Carson, KPRC TV in Houston. It's great to be able to talk with you today. I'd like to start with, hello, a big wave. Commander Baja, what would you like to say to your daughter? I know she's a student at Clear Lake High School, and she took part in a very special wake-up call for you this morning.
All I would say to her is, hi, Carolyn, how you doing? Hope you're having as much time down there as much fun down there as I am up here. And look forward to seeing you when we return in about a week.
You do look like you're having fun up there.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. The Space Shuttle Atlantis, a busy place today. In addition to their tests and experiments, the astronauts, including Oklahoman Shannon Lucid, are giving live interviews. The astronauts join us now live via New Star 9. Good afternoon, Atlantis, KWTV in Oklahoma City. How do you read?
Loud and clear. How do you read us?
Sounds great. We talked to you about 90 minutes ago for a microphone check. How far have you traveled since then, Commander?
All the way around the world, about 26,000 miles.
The town of Bethany, a suburb of Oklahoma City, is fairly aglow today. It is, of course, the hometown of Dr. Shannon Lucid, who I see sitting behind you there. Dr. Lucid, your brother told us to tell you hi today. You have an open microphone to the folks in Bethany and the rest of Oklahoma. Go ahead. Tell them whatever you'd like.
Well, I'd just like to say hello to everybody that I know in Oklahoma, and I'd say hello to my mother and my father and everybody else. And I'd also, I think the people of Oklahoma can be very proud of the space program because they have had many, many representatives that have come from Oklahoma to Texas to work in the space program, and also at one time, there were more people in the astronaut office that had Oklahoma ties than any other state. And I think, Oklahoma has always been known as a leader in the aviation community. And they can also be very proud of the people that contributed, working down the Johnson Space Center and all the rest of the NASA centers.
Shannon, there's been some concern here in Oklahoma that maybe you and one of your crewmates aren't speaking right now, especially this time of year, since you're from the University of Oklahoma and pilot Mike Baker is a graduate of the University of Texas. Tell me, have there been any space bets on the upcoming OU-Texas game, anything like that?
No, because Mike knows that he would lose.
Mike, do you have any comment about that?
Hook 'em hard.
Oh, it's getting ugly up there in space. Shannon, do you have any more missions planned at this point? Any chances you're going to go back in space soon?
Well, that's not for me to decide. It's for the management, and I'm available to do whatever I'm asked to do.
A management decision. Thank you very much, Atlantis. We appreciate you being with us today, and a safe return from all of us here in Oklahoma. KWTV is clear, Atlantis.
Atlantis, Houston, thanks a lot. You did a great job under the circumstances. We appreciate it. David, you got off easy.
Okay.
Atlantis, we're back in the middeck with you.
Okay, and what we really want to do here, Marcia, is show you the real Dr. Shannon Lucid.
I've been waiting for this
Space
picture.
goddess. This woman has flown in space more times than any woman in the entire history of the human race. And there she is.
Shannon, we're proud of you.
We're proud of her, too.
And we're seeing a good picture.
Okay, this is Shannon talking to you about the message at the beginning of the setup, and this was about 5 minutes before the time to begin the session. You can see she's got the little modem cord adapter that connects to the comm cable, connected into the back. The power cable, notice, is already connected. And we're using A15, the AC power on A15 for power here, because this is where we've set it up to do the cursor control device. And since we were using the computer for cursor control and didn't power it down, we're just rebooting it here.
This is Mission Control Houston. The shuttle Atlantis is flying over the Pacific Ocean and has a view here of Tropical Storm FIFA. That was a hurricane, but it has been downgraded to a tropical storm. It's located east of the Hawaiian Islands.